Now, figures. They are much more complicated objects. So I've got 3 short videos on these. So let's start with the basics. So I'll have a look at my screen. Figures. And at a basic level, it's exactly the same as tables. Near where you want your figure, usually at the start of the first paragraph that discusses the figure, include a figure environment. And the figure environment is begin figure, end figure, as always. Then we usually want a graphical figure centered, so / centering works better than the begin center, end center environment in this context. Then there's some code to typeset the figure. I'll talk about that in a minute. Followed by a caption, just as for a table. And what will happen is that will get typeset as figure 4, and then some text, and that text description you will put in the argument of the caption. Because it's a figure, it gets a number, figure 4. To cross-reference to that figure, you need a label. So / label, and then you can cross-reference. So let's have a look at an example. Now this example, we're going to include a couple of photographs. And the most common way to do this, and it's useful for other sorts of figures as well, is to put use package GraphicX into the preamble. And here we'll include the Lego fractal picture. The photograph I took some time ago, which is this photograph. We're going to include it in the document. Now, download Fractal 34. Here it is. Typesetting as a 2-column document, just for a bit of fun. And let's find the figure environment. Here it is. It's typeset. A couple of times. Now, where is this figure? Ah, there it is. And you see what the figure has done is its source is at the end of the first paragraph on coastlines and rivers. So the source instructions for this figure are down here. But the figure has floated up to the top of the column, so it does not interrupt the text. It's included the figure, it's centered because we put that centering environment in. This command / include graphics says go and get the graphic file sflower.something, and it's found sflower.jpg and loaded it in. Caption command gave us the caption, replete with a number, maybe figure 1, and then we could cross-reference to it via that label, which I don't think I've done. Now, this is a 2-column document. You might say, I've got a figure that's too big to fit into 1 column. What do you do then? The figure star environment will typeset across both columns. Figures disappeared, and that's because it's a bit harder to typeset across both columns, and LaTeX has moved it to the top of the next page. Okay, so the source is still here, and the figure has floated further on. But no, okay, it does not interrupt the body text on that page. Okay. Now, of course, mostly scientific and engineering graphics are not pictures, they are plots, graphs, log graphs, mesh plots, whatever. There are several good possibilities for this that we will discuss. And there are analogous possibilities with other computer languages. So, summary, which we'll talk about later, you can draw the graph in MATLAB, Octave, R, whatever, export it into PostScript, convert to PDF, include in your LaTeX. In some packages, you can export to LaTeX code directly. And when you can do that, it's often the highest quality. So that's preferred, provided you can get it to working. It's a little bit tricky sometimes, but mostly works. Or for some graphics, you can code the graphics directly into LaTeX source yourself. There are environments to do that, and I'll talk about them. And in fact, I'll look at those three alternatives in reverse order. Speaking of lists, just like you can have a list of tables, you can have a list of figures. No big deal. You notice in the example, I put the caption and the label above tables but below the figure. That is the convention, but I've got to say, in all my reading, I've never seen any reason for that convention other than that's just what we do because it's the habit. However, there is a reason for putting captions above figures now, and that is in PDF, when you use hyperlinks, which we do, the target is better if it's above the figure. And so since the target is the caption, it's better to have the caption above the figure when you do a hyperlinked PDF document. So if you're not otherwise constrained, you might prefer to do that. Okay, what about small graphics though? I've said graphics are normally too big. Well, sometimes you might have a small graphic. You can place information into the margin, and that's a nice place for small graphics. There's a command called margin par, and within the braces is whatever you want to go into the margin at that point in the document. Be wary that you often need to change the width of the margin to choose the particular document class you've got. So you often need something like that. Now, let's use this example document and include a picture in the margin. And just because I know it's a small picture, what about the thumbnail picture? There you are, me, up there a few years ago. We'll include that. You can download it and include it in the LaTeX. So we'll change the width. No, let's not bother because it works fine here without changing the width. Okay, we'll put the picture there. Let's typeset that. And you can see in this paragraph, immediately at the start of section 1, before discussing, etc., 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 I've said, put a picture in the margin, or put something in the margin, and that something in the margin is going to be this picture obtained by /include graphics. Tony Roberts. Command goes away and says, can I find a graphics file, tonyroberts.something to include? Ah, yes, there is one. We put it there in the margin. Okay, and if we used, if it was in the left column, it would go in the left margin. That sort of thing. So, and I need to use that. So I can do that. Let's just put something trivial in the margin. Let's have it here. Margin par brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. I hope you know that that short sentence is the shortest known sentence which has every letter in the alphabet. Okay, typeset. And you can see that sentence has now appeared in the left margin. Okay, so that's good for small pictures. They can be graphics. Usually best to use the package margin fix if you do that. Another alternative is to use a wrap fig package, which allows you to typeset a small picture and then wrap the typeset text around it, wrap the body text around that. I won't talk about that other than say it's possible, and you can look it up if you want to. It works pretty well. Now comes the question. What about animations, movies, virtual reality, interactive 3D graphics? Can LaTeX include it? Answer, yes it can. So if you want to know more about that, I've got an online document there. However, and this is a big however, many PDF readers do not support animations, movies, virtual reality graphics. Adobe Acrobat Reader currently does, but most others do not. Furthermore, almost no journal supports their inclusions. Yeah. Even a journal that I was one of the editors for refused to include it. It wasn't so much that they refused, incidentally, the organisers were keen, but when it got down to the copy editor and layout editor, it just disappeared. They just couldn't do it. Anyway, so don't be too ambitious. Avoid animations, movies, and virtual reality graphics. If you've done some good stuff, your probably best bet is to put it into supplementary material, which is then uploaded somewhere online and put in a hypertext link. Okay, so that's the introduction to graphics. We will talk about some of the problems and